I watched my husband Jack slip that divorce paper across the breakfast table like it was just another grocery list. The morning of our son Ethan's high school graduation, his coffee mug still steaming between us. Sign it, Emma. For Ethan's sake, clean break before the ceremony. His voice was calm, too calm, like he'd rehearsed it in the mirror while I was ironing his best suit. But I didn't sign. Instead, I folded it into my purse, smiled, and said, "See you at the auditorium, honey." He had no idea that by noon, in front of 500 people, I'd burn his whole world down and take our son with me into the ashes. The ink on those papers wasn't dry yet, but the betrayal that had been festering for 15 years, ever since the night Jack came home from his business trip to Vegas with a flush on his cheeks that wasn't from blackjack. I'd covered for him then, lied to the cops about his alibi when his partner's body washed up in Lake Mead, because I thought love meant swallowing the ugly parts. Turns out, it just meant choking on them until you spit blood. That stage at Lincoln High felt like the gallows as I climbed up, the principal's hand heavy on my shoulder, the spotlight hot enough to blister. Ethan was next to me, 16 and lanky in his cap and gown, eyes wide with that mix of pride and teenage nerves. Jack sat front row, center, tie knotted perfect, flashing that salesman grin to the neighbors. He thought he'd won. Papers served, bags half-packed in the garage, his mistress waiting in the wings. But as the principal handed me the mic to say a few words as mother of the valedictorian, I leaned in and whispered the truth that would split this town like an earthquake fault line. Ladies and gentlemen, proud parents, faculty, and most of all the class of 2025, today isn't just about diplomas and dreams. It's about the lies we've all told to get here. My voice cracked just a hair, but I held it, scanning the sea of faces under the balloon arch that read, "Future starts now." Gasps rippled out like wind through cornstalks, but I pressed on, the words I'd rehearsed in the shower that morning tasting like battery acid. My son Ethan stands here because of his own grit, not mine. But me? I've been carrying my husband's sins for half our marriage, and today, on this stage, I'm done. Jack's face went the color of the American flag bunting draped over the bleachers, red, white, and blue-veined fury. He half stood, mouth opening like a landed bass, but the principal shot him a look that nailed him back down. Whispers buzzed like cicadas in July, and I could feel Ethan's arm tense against mine, his breath hitching. God, I hated dragging him into this, but secrets are heavier than any cap and gown. "Jack," I said, turning to him directly, the mic amplifying my heartbreak into a stadium roar. "You remember that night in '09? When your buddy Mike disappeared after your little investment meeting in Reno? I told the detectives you were home with me, baking cookies for Ethan's first-grade bake sale. But you weren't. You were burying evidence in the desert, and I lied because I thought it was for us." The auditorium erupted, shouts from the back, a teacher's hand flying to her mouth, some dad in a polo shirt yelling, "What the hell is this?" Ethan yanked at my sleeve, whispering, "Mom, stop," but I couldn't. Not now. This was the hook I'd swallowed, and it was time to reel him in. Jack bolted up fully then, chair scraping like nails on a chalkboard, his finger jabbing the air. "Emma, you're unhinged. Sit down before you embarrass us all." But the crowd was turning, eyes flicking between us like they were at a tennis match from hell. A mom 2 rows back muttered, "Is she serious?" And her husband shushed her, phone already out, recording the implosion. I laughed, a sharp, ugly bark that echoed off the rafters. "Embarrass us? Jack, you've been embarrassing me since the day you knocked up your secretary and convinced me it was a one-time mistake. Sarah from accounting, remember? The one who quit right after I miscarried our daughter because of the stress you put me through." Ethan's face crumpled. He had known about the baby, the one we'd never talk about, the little girl I'd named Lily in my dreams. I saw the pieces click in his eyes, the betrayal mirroring mine from a decade ago. Jack's mistress, the real one now, wasn't some faceless fling. It was the same pattern, the same poison. Flashback to that Vegas trip, though it feels like yesterday's bad dream. I'd been 32, fresh out of community college night classes, finally landing that paralegal gig at the firm where Jack was climbing the ladder like kazoo on a trailer park fence. He came home late, tie loose, smelling of bourbon and cheap perfume, collapsing onto our sagging couch in that cramped apartment off I-80 in Omaha. "Babe, Mike's out." Took the fall for the skim, we're clear. His eyes glittered, not with relief, but hunger. Mike was his partner in the construction scam, siphoning funds from city contracts for that new rec center. But Mike got cold feet, threatened to whistleblow. Jack handled it. Permanently. I should have walked then. But he pulled me close, whispered about the house we'd buy, the family we'd build. "You're my rock, and without you, I'm nothing." And I believed it, because in small-town Nebraska, love was the only lottery ticket most of us ever scratched. So when the cops knocked 3 days later, badges gleaming under our porch light, I perjured myself. "He was here, officers." All night. We watched Die Hard and ate pizza. They bought it. Jack's charm was a force of nature, and the case went cold. Mike's widow got a tragic accident settlement from the company, and Jack got promoted. Years blurred after that. Ethan came along 9 months later, a squalling bundle that glued us together like duct tape on a leaking pipe. We moved to Des Moines for Jack's job, traded the apartment for a split level in the suburbs, minivan in the driveway, PDA meetings on Thursdays. I buried the lie deep, let it root like bindweed in my gut. Jack thrived, VP by 40, golf weekends with the mayor, that easy laugh that made strangers trust him. Me? I clawed my way to senior paralegal, handling the firm's dirtiest divorces, seeing my own trap in every tearful confession. But the crack showed. Nights he'd vanished to client dinners, coming back with lipstick smudges I pretended were marinara. The bank statements I'd sneak peeks at, deposits from consulting that didn't match his W-2s. And then, 2 years ago, the real gut punch. I found the letters in his golf bag. Not love notes, but threats. From a PI he'd hired to dig up dirt on me. Backdated to that Reno alibi. "If she ever talks, we bury her." He'd been planning his exit since Ethan was in diapers, hedging his bets like a poker pro. I confronted him last fall, over pumpkin pie at Thanksgiving, the turkey carcass still on the table. "Jack, what's this?" I slid the envelope across, my hands shaking like leaves in a prairie wind. He didn't blink, just sipped his scotch and said, "Insurance, You think I'd let one bad night tank everything?" Mike was weak, you're not. Then the flip, tears in his eyes, kneeling by my chair. "I love you. It's all for us. Sign the NDA and we move on." I did. Because Ethan had college apps due, and Jack controlled the savings. But inside, the rage brewed, slow and black as Iowa topsoil after a flood. Now, here on this stage, with the valedictorian speech forgotten and the principal fumbling for the mic cord, I watched Jack's empire crack. "Emma," he bellowed, storming the steps, security trailing like reluctant puppies. "This is libel. You'll go to jail." The crowd split, half cheering my nerve, half hissing like I'd spit in the punch bowl. A cluster of moms from the booster club stood, fists clenched. The dads shifted uncomfortably, knowing their own skeletons. Ethan clung to me, whispering, "Is it true, Mom? About Dad?" I nodded, throat tight. "Every word, baby. And there's more." But Jack reached the stage, grabbing my arm, his grip vice-tight. "Off. Now." The flash of phones lit the room like fireflies in a storm. This was it. The betrayal laid bare, the secret exhumed. And I wasn't done digging. Security peeled Jack off me like a burr from a wool sock, 2 burly ex-cops in ill-fitting blazers hauling him back down the aisle while he roared obscenities that made the grandmas clutch their pearls. "You crazy bitch. Ethan, don't listen to her." But our boy was already retreating into himself, cap-shadowing eyes that mirrored Jack's exactly. Blue and sharp, now shattered like safety glass. The principal, Mr. Hargrove, a man who'd coached Ethan's Pee Wee League, cleared his throat into the mic. "Folks, let's take a recess. Diplomas will resume in 10 minutes?" That was all the time Jack needed to spin this into my breakdown, the hysteric wife cracking under empty nest pressure. I pulled Ethan into the wings, the heavy velvet curtain muffling the chaos outside. Shouts, sobs, the unmistakable ping of texts flying faster than gossip at a county fair. "Mom, why didn't you tell me?" His voice was small, accusatory, the kind that slices deeper than any knife. I cupped his face, feeling the faint stubble of manhood under my thumbs. "Because your dad was the villain in my story, but the hero in yours. I wanted you to have that, at least till now." Lies, half of them. Truth was, I'd been too scared. Scared of losing the only family I'd clawed from the dirt of my own trailer park childhood. We hunkered in the green room, a sad closet of folding chairs and faded posters from last year's prom. Ethan paced, gown swishing like a defeated cape. "So, what now? You really gonna air all that on stage? Ruin graduation." Ruin it? Jack had already torched it, serving those papers at dawn like a coward's grenade. But Ethan's plea tugged, the last thread of the life I'd stitched together. "Not ruin," I said, forcing steel into my spine. "Reclaim. He thinks he can walk away clean, leave me holding the bag again." But today, I flipped the script. Outside, the lobby thrummed with Des Moines drama. PDA vipers circling Jack, his golf buddies patting his back while side-eyeing me through the doors. I caught snippets. Embezzlement? No way, Jack solid. Solid as quicksand. Because the real secret, the one I'd borne like a tumor, wasn't just Mike's death. It was the money. Jack hadn't stopped at one skim. Over the years, he'd funneled kickbacks from those rec center contracts into offshore accounts, then invested in my name, forged signatures on loans, my social as collateral. When the Fed sniffed around last year, he pinned it on me. "Emma's got the gambling bug," he told the auditor, planting casino chips in my purse as props. I took the hit: community service, probation, the scarlet letter of a felon on my record that killed my paralegal dreams. I'd played along for Ethan, signed the plea deal, sat through the hushed court in Polk County, Jack in the gallery dabbing fake tears. My poor wife, the stress. But inside, I'd been plotting. Hired a PI of my own, ironic, right? A grizzled vet named Ruiz who owed me from a pro bono divorce I'd handled back in Omaha. He dug for months, unearthing emails, wire transfers, even a grainy security cam of Jack in Reno, dragging what looked like a duffel toward his trunk hours after Mike's last call. Evidence enough to bury him, but I'd held it, waiting for the perfect grave. Ethan stopped pacing, slumping into a chair. "What if people hate you?"
Us.
Hate me? Honey, they'd canonize me or crucify me, but indifference was off the table.
Leching.
Better than pretending. The door banged open then. Hargrove, sweat beading on his bald pate. "Mrs. Harlan, we need to talk." "Jack's calling the cops. Says you're defaming him." Defaming? The word hung like smoke from a brush fire. I stood, smoothing my dress, the one I'd bought on sale at Target, because even in revenge, budgets matter. "Tell him the truth isn't defamation, Mr. Hargrove. It's justice." Back on stage, the ceremony limped forward, diplomas handed out to polite claps that felt like pity. Ethan got his summa cum laude scholarship to Iowa State, and when he hugged me, it was fierce, a son's forgiveness wrapped in adolescent awkwardness. Jack was gone, vanished into the parking lot scrum, his truck peeling out with a gravel snarl I could hear from the footlights. Good. Let him stew. As the last graduate tossed her cap, the principal nodded me back to the mic. "Final words, Emma?" His eyes pleaded for normalcy, but normal died with those divorce papers. I took the stand, heart thundering like a freightliner on 35. "Class of 25, your futures are yours. Don't let anyone steal them."
Ethan, I'm proud. And to the rest.
Remember, heroes wear masks too. Murmurs swelled, but I wasn't done. Not by half. The real announcement, the one Jack never saw coming, was cued on my phone, linked to the auditorium's AV system. A click, and the screen behind me flickered to life. Grainy footage from Reno, Jack's face unmistakable, time-stamped. Then emails, redacted bank statements scrolling like credits in a noir flick. The crowd inhaled as one. O's and AHS turning to outrage. Jack Harlan didn't just cheat on me, I said, voice steady now, the Micah lifeline.
He framed me for his crimes.
Killed his partner to cover a scam that stole from this town, your rec center, your kids' soccer fields. And I let him, because love's a blindfold. But no more. Chaos bloomed. A teacher fainted, revived with smelling salts. The mayor's wife stood, pointing at the empty front row. Arrest him, someone yelled, and applause followed, ragged but real. Ethan gripped the podium, tears streaking his gown. Polarizing? Hell yes. Half the room saw me as a avenging angel, the other as a vengeful harpy airing dirty laundry on sacred ground. But as sirens wailed in the distance, someone had called it in. The twist hit me. Ruiz texted. One more file, Emma. It's big. I glanced down, the preview showing a paternity test, dated last week. Ethan wasn't Jack's. Biologically, anyway. The affair I'd forgiven? It had bloomed into this boy I'd raised as my own, the result of Jack's one time with Sarah. I'd known, deep down, from the blood-type mismatch at birth. Kept it buried, for the family myth.
Now?
It was my ace. Jack's truck screeched back into the lot just as state troopers swarmed the doors. He burst in, wild-eyed, straight to the stage. Emma, you win.
Just.
Don't tell him. Tell who? Ethan, standing right there, piecing it together from the whispers. The boy looked at me, then Jack, the fracture lines deepening. I could have ended it soft, pulled him aside. But revenge isn't clean. Tell him what, Jack? That he's not yours? Or that I knew and loved him anyway? The auditorium held its breath, factions forming in real time, feminists in the back cheering my guts, traditionalists muttering about family values. Jack lunged again, but troopers cuffed him mid-stride, reading rights that echoed like Judgment Day. Ethan turned to me, voice breaking. Is it true? I nodded, the weight lifting and crushing all at once. Every complicated bit. The cuffs clicked shut on Jack's wrists with a finality that should have felt like victory, but mostly it just echoed hollow in my chest, like dropping keys down a storm drain. Troopers marched him out, his curses devolving into pleas. Emma, think of the boy. As the crowd parted like the Red Sea, some snapping pics, others turning away in that Midwestern mix of voyeurism and shame. Ethan stood frozen, the diploma clutched like a shield, his world redrawn in sharpest strokes I never meant to wield.
Mom.
How long? How long? Since the sonogram, since the nurse's puzzled frown, since I chose silence over shattering a newborn's fairy tale. I pulled him off stage, away from the gawking eyes, into the band room where tubas gathered dust and sheet music yellowed on stands. The air smelled of rosin and regret. Since forever, kiddo. But it never changed a thing. You're mine, blood or not. He recoiled, not angry, just adrift, the valedictorian polish cracking to show the scared sophomore underneath. So, Dad's a murderer? And a liar? And I'm. What, collateral? Collateral. The word stung, because yeah, in Jack's ledger, we all were, pawns in his climb from Milltown hustler to corner office king. Jack's story started uglier than mine, if that's possible. Born in a double-wide outside Council Bluffs, Dad a drunk welder who lost fingers to a bad weld, Mom waitressing doubles at the truck stop. Jack clawed out on scholarships and spite, that community college business degree his ticket to respectable. We met at a bonfire party, me nursing a natty light, him spinning yarns about Wall Street dreams. He was electric, charisma like a live wire, drawing me from my own dead-end waitressing gig. Married in a shotgun chapel, Vegas on a whim, because why wait for permission? But the darkness? It simmered early. That first scam, the rec center bid, was small potatoes, padding invoices by $5,000, enough for a down payment on our first house. Mike was the conscience, the straight arrow from accounting who'd married his high school sweetheart and coached Little League. Jack, this ain't right, he'd say over beers at the VFW. Jack'd laugh it off, then one night, after too many shots, Mike pushed.
Hard.
I'm tellin'. Jack's face went blank, That mask he wore so well. Next day, business trip to Reno. Mike's car found in a ravine, brakes tampered. Open and shut until I shut it. I lied for him because I saw myself in the mirror of his ambition. My own mom had OD'd on pills when I was 12. Dad split before that, leaving me to raise my sister on food stamps and foster scraps. Jack promised escape, a narrative where we weren't the broken ones. So I perjured, and it bought us the life. Des Moines suburbs, Ethan in braces and travel soccer, me trading shifts for law classes. But Jack's hunger grew. More contracts, bigger schemes, stadium expansions, school bonds. He flipped faces like a dealer with marked cards, doting dad at Ethan's games, ruthless closer in boardrooms, lover to whoever caught his eye. Sarah was the first fracture. 25, fresh MBA, interning at the firm. I caught them in the supply closet, her skirt hiked, his handprints on her thighs. It meant nothing. He sobbed in our bed that night, vowing therapy we never went to. But 9 months later, Ethan arrived, colicky and colic-eyed, and the math didn't add. Blood type, O positive, mine. Jack's AB negative. Sarah's? I'd checked her LinkedIn later. Brunette, ambitious, vanished after maternity leave. Jack knew. Denied it, of course, but his gifts to Ethan ramped up. Xbox, dirt bike, like overpaying a debt. I swallowed it because swallowing was survival. Raised Ethan as ours. Buried the test in a lockbox with my grandma's pearls. Jack's affairs cycled, realtor, yoga instructor, the barista at Starbucks who spelled my name wrong. Each one, I'd confront, he'd flip, rage, then remorse, then for the family. And the crimes escalated. By 2020, he was deep in a Ponzi scheme, peddling green energy bonds to retirees that were smoke. When the SEC circled, he forged my name on the filings. You're good with details, handle it. I did, until the audit. Probation, 6 months house arrest, me baking quarantine bread while he gulped stress relief. Revenge crystallized during those months, alone in our colonial with its white pickets and lies. Ruiz, my PI, became confidant over burner phones. He's dirty, Emma. Deeper than you know. Files piled. Audio of Jack bragging to a mistress about taking care of Mike. Ledgers showing 200 grand laundered through Ethan's college fund. I'd cry in the shower, plotting in spreadsheets. When to drop it, how to shield Ethan. Graduation seemed poetic. Jack's clean break, coinciding with Ethan's launch. Serve papers. Announce the divorce quietly. Slink away with alimony scraps. But he pushed, that smug for Ethan's sake, and I snapped. Back in the band room, Ethan wiped his nose on his sleeve. So, what happens to him? Prison? Prison. The word conjured Jack in orange, bartering smokes for stories, his charm eroded to bones. Part of me thrilled. Part mourned the boy I'd loved, the one who danced with me at our wedding to Sweet Home, Alabama. If the truth holds, yeah. But justice ain't tidy, kid. Sirens outside swelled. FBI now, tipped by my anonymous email pre-ceremony. Jack's truck impounded, his phone seized. The news vans were pulling up, KCCI logos gleaming like vultures' beaks. We slipped out a side door, the Iowa sun brutal after the auditorium dim. My Corolla waited, packed with go bags I'd stashed weeks ago. Passports, cash from selling my engagement ring at a pawn shop in Ames. Ethan balked at the sight. We're running. Not running. Repositioning. Just till the dust settles. Your aunt in Chicago has a spare room. Aunt Lena, my sister, the one who'd escaped our childhood hell first. She knew the broad strokes, had wired me seed money for Ruiz. But as we merged onto I-235, Jack's call buzzed my phone. Burner number, voicemail. Emma, you think this ends me? I got dirt on you too. That perjury? We go down together. The flip again, threat laced with seduction. Come home. We fix this. For Ethan. I deleted it, but the worm burrowed. He was cunning, always 3 moves ahead, lawyers on speed dial. Maybe a mole in the DA's office from his donor days. Ethan stared out the window, cornfields blurring gold. Do you still love him? Love? It was scar tissue now, tender and numb. Loved the idea, not the man. Chicago loomed by dusk, Lena's bungalow a beacon in the Ukrainian village, pierogies steaming on the stove. She hugged Ethan fierce, no questions, just a nod to me. Ballsy, sis. But is it over? Over? Jack's arraignment was tomorrow, headlines screaming local XX dark secret. But as we settled Ethan in the basement with Netflix and pizza, my phone lit again. Ruiz. Emma, heads up. Jack's out on bond. And he's lawyered up with Harlan and Associates. Your old firm. My firm. The one I'd slaved for, only to be blackballed after the embezzlement. Sleep evaded. The guest room creaking like old bones. Jack's face haunted, charming, then cruel, then broken. I'd made him that way, or he'd always been. The revenge high faded to dread. What if the twist was mine? What if exposing him exposed me? Perjury charges, custody battles. Ethan lost in the crossfire. Dawn broke gray, news alerts pinging. Wife's shocking reveal at graduation. Murder cover-up? Polarization peaked, Team Emma trending on local Twitter, op-eds decrying public spectacle over privacy. Lena brewed coffee strong as tar. What's next, Em? Next?
Court.
Confrontation. The climax I'd engineered, where right and wrong blurred like rain on a windshield. Jack wanted war? I'd bring the thunder. The Polk County Courthouse smelled like lemon pledge and desperation, the kind that clings to divorce decrees and DUIs. I sat in the gallery, third row back, Ethan beside me under the vaulted ceilings where justice was supposed to reign impartial. But Iowa justice? It's a family affair. Judges golf with execs, DAs lunch with donors. Jack's bond hearing was a circus, reporters spilling into the hall, his lawyer, slick Tommy Whitaker from my old firm, spinning yarns like a Carney Barker. Your Honor, this is a smear campaign by a scorned spouse. Mental health break, clear as day. Jack stood at the defense table, suit pressed, no cuffs, 10 mil bond, posted by concerned associates. His eyes found mine across the room, not rage now, but calculation, that poker tell of a man folding a bad hand into a bluff. Ethan shifted, whispering, he looks small. Small. Yeah, stripped to the stage, he was just a 45-year-old fraud in wingtips, Paunch straining his belt from too many steakhouse deals. Whitaker paraded witnesses, the mayor, vouching Jack's character, a shrink, diagnosing my histrionics from affair rumors. Histrionics? I'd earned that stage moment, every syllable a brick in the wall I'd built around his sins. When the ADA called me, subpoenaed overnight, I rose on legs like wet spaghetti, Ruiz's dossier burning a hole in my purse. Mrs. Harlan, the judge intoned, a silver-haired relic named Ellis. Your outburst was ill-timed. Care to clarify for the record? Clarify? I gripped the rail, would cool under my palms. No outburst, Your Honor.
Facts.
My husband murdered Michael Torres in 2009 to silence a whistleblower on embezzled city funds. I lied for him then, perjury, yes, but only because he gaslit me into believing it was for our family. Gasps from the jury pool. Jack's head snapped up, Whitaker objecting like a reflex. But Ellis waved him off, intrigued despite himself. And your evidence? I slid the USB across, footage, emails, the works. All there. Including how he framed me for his Ponzi in 2020, forged my SIG on filings, planted evidence. Stole from seniors, from our son's future. The courtroom buzzed, Ellis cueing the Reno clip on the projector, Jack's silhouette, duffel heavy, desert wind whipping dust. Whitaker jumped. Circumstantial. Chain of custody. But the damage stuck, tarry and dark. Jack's mask slipped fully then, a vein throbbing in his temple as he leaned to whisper to his lawyer. I caught fragments. Her too.
Perjury.
The flip, dragging me down. Mutual destruction. Ethan squeezed my hand, nails digging crescents. Mom, they're staring. They were, reporters sketching, bailiff stone-faced, the public gallery split. Women nodding solidarity, men averting eyes. Recess hit like a mercy, the ADA pulling me aside in a witness room that reeked of stale smoke. Emma, this is dynamite. But you perjured, could flip on you. Flip. The word echoed Jack's old threats. I know, but he goes first. She nodded, sharp in her pantsuit. A rare ally in this boys' club. We'll push for murder one, fraud charges. But expect heat, Jack's connected. Connected. Understatement. By lunch, my phone exploded. Death threats from Jack's crew. Congrats from women's groups. A GoFundMe for Ethan's fresh start, hitting 5 figures. We holed up at Lena's again. The bungalow a bunker with drawn shades. Ethan buried in apps, avoiding calls from concerned classmates. Dad texted. Says you're lying to hurt him. Hurt him? The irony curdled. I showed Ethan the messages. Jack's pleas evolving to venom. You'll regret this. Ethan's not yours either. The boy paled, the paternity bomb detonating late. You kept that from me too? Accusation laced with grief. I crumbled, spilling it all. Sarah's fling, the test, my choice to mother solo in spirit. I wanted you whole, not halved by DNA. He stormed out, slamming the screen door, wandering the block till dusk. Lena found him at a pierogi joint, drowning fries in ketchup. Kid's tough, like you. Tough. I felt flayed. Every decision a controversial cut. Avenger or destroyer. News looped the hearing. Pundits debating, was mom's revenge justified or justified? Graduation takedown trended national, late-night hosts cracking jokes about diploma drama. Polarizing perfection. Feminists hailed my empowerment, conservatives decried family demolition. Night fell heavy, thunder rumbling over Lake Michigan. Jack's next move came at midnight, a knock, soft but insistent. I peered through the peephole. Him. Rain-slicked, no lawyer in sight.
Eminencia.
Please. Lena hovered with a rolling pin, but I waved her off, cracking the door. What, Jack? Come to confess. He stepped in, dripping on the hall runner, eyes hollowed by bailiff lights. To talk. For real. We sat at the kitchen table, Lena upstairs with Ethan, the air thick as bisque. He started soft. I never meant for Mike. He attacked me, booze, bad blood. I panicked. Panic with a shovel? But I listened, the old pull tugging. And the money? The framing? His shrug was pure deflection. Survival. We were drowning, your classes, Ethan's braces. I fixed it. Fixed. Like duct taping a dam. Then the flip. But you? You enabled it. Lied for me. We're the same,
Same?
The word ignited.
No.
I chose love. You chose lies. He leaned in, voice dropping. Then why the show? Graduation? You could have gone private, lawyers, settlements. But you wanted blood.
Blood.
He wasn't wrong. The stage was theater, my soliloquy, revenge dressed as reckoning. Because you served papers at breakfast. Like I was yesterday's trash. His laugh was bitter, broken. And the kid? Telling him he's not mine? That's low, even for you. I flinched, had I? Not directly, but the whispers spread like flu. He needed truth. All of it. We circled then, accusations volleying. His affairs my neglect, my silence his paranoia. Hours bled, rain lashing windows, until he cracked. I loved you, first. Always the idea of us.
Loved.
Past tense, the knife twist. Dawn crept, and he stood. Trials in 2 weeks.
Drop the files, I'll cop to fraud.
Manslaughter, maybe. You walk.
Walk.
Tempting the clean end, Ethan stable, me with a payout and peace. But as he reached the door, Ruiz called. New evidence, Emma. Jack paid off Mike's widow. Hush money. And there's more. He knew about Sarah's baby. Swapped the tests.
Swapped.
The ultimate flip, stealing Ethan's origin, forging our family from fraud. I blocked the door.
No deal, Jack.
See you in court. He searched my face, then nodded, gone into the gray. The climax loomed. Trial, testimonies, the scales tipping. But whose side was justice on? Mine, with my vengeful spotlight? His, with his survival spin? Or Ethan's, the innocent caught in the blast radius? The trial opened under a sky like hammered tin. Polk County Superior packed elbow to jowl, metal detectors beeping with the weight of small-town schadenfreude. I took the stand first, sworn in with a Bible that felt ironic, my voice projected to the back where reporters scribbled like mad. I lied for Jack because I believed in redemption. But redemption's a one-way street. He paved it with bodies and bucks. The jury, 12 strangers, mix of farmers and clerks, leaned in, faces etched with that Iowa skepticism, weighing my words against the circus we'd become. Whitaker cross-examined like a fox in a henhouse. "Mrs. Harlan, isn't it true you sought revenge after learning of Mr. Harlan's affair?" Fabricated evidence, out of spite.
Spite.
The word landed like a slap, the gallery murmuring, his supporters nodding, mine hissing. I met his eyes, steady. Spite? Try self-preservation. Your client framed me for his Ponzi. 200 grand from widows like my mom would have been. I have the forgeries, the witness from the bank. Ruiz had delivered. Affidavits, timestamps, even Sarah herself, flown in from Seattle, ready to testify Ethan was hers by blood, Jack's by blackmail. Jack testified midweek, the star turn. Clean-shaven, voice modulated to earnest, he spun a tale of pressures, market crashes, family strains, a tragic accident with Mike after a heated argument. I covered for Emma's gambling debts. He lied smooth, flashing that grin that once charmed VPs. She spiraled. The outburst at graduation was her rock bottom. The jury tittered. A woman in the front row rolled her eyes. But then the flip, tears, real ones, as he turned to Ethan in the gallery. "Son, I love you. Blood or not, you're mine." Ethan, who'd shown up daily in hoodies and headphones, froze, torn, the pull of biology versus betrayal. Prosecution hammered back. The footage, the ledgers, Mike's widow crumbling on stand, her settlement, exposed as gag money. "He threatened my kids," she sobbed. A Puerto Rican mom from Davenport who'd lost her husband to Jack's ambition. Sarah followed, poised in pearls, dropping the bomb. Jack knew about the pregnancy. Paid me to disappear, then claimed the boy. Swapped the tests at the hospital, his cousin's a nurse there. Gasps rippled. Jack's face drained to ash. The jury split visibly, men shifting, women glaring, debating in whispers if he was monster or misguided man. Closing arguments landed like haymakers. ADA painted Jack as the snake in the suburban garden, me as reluctant witness turned whistleblower. Whitaker countered. A marriage's private hell, aired for clicks. Emma's the real criminal. Perjury, extortion via public sham. Extortion? The word ignited the post-trial buzz. Who is the villain exploding online? Therapists booking slots for Harlan trauma. Ethan cornered me in the courthouse bathroom, mirror fogged from my tears. "Mom, if Dad goes down, it's on you. But if he walks, what then? What then?" The dilemma clawed. My revenge up higher, consuming us all. Verdict day dawned muggy, the deliberations stretching to 3, longer than expected, whispers of a hung jury. We waited in a side room, Lena pacing, Ethan sketching absently on a legal pad, stick figures of a family crossed out. When the bailiff called, my stomach knotted like barbed wire. Guilty on fraud, tampering, voluntary manslaughter.
20 years minimum.
No murder one. The panic, defense stuck, controversial enough to spark appeals. Jack's wail from the defense table echoed as they let him out, eyes locking on mine, not hate, but hollow defeat. "You happy now, Em?" Happy? The word dissolved on my tongue. As cuffs clicked again, final this time, the courtroom emptied in factions, cheers from victims' kin, boos from Jack's cronies. Outside, news mics swarmed. "Emma, was it worth it?" "Worth it?" Ethan bolted before I could answer, vanishing into the crowd. I found him later at the Capitol steps, staring at the gold dome like it held answers.
He's gone.
For real.
Yeah.
And the cost? My perjury charge pending, a misdemeanor plea in the works, community service, no jail. But the real sentence, Ethan's eyes, shadowed with what-ifs. We drove back to Chicago that night, radio droning classic rock, Springsteen wailing about highways and ghosts. Ethan broke silence at the border. I hate him.
But
I miss the lie sometimes. Miss the lie. The twist that gutted me, more than any verdict. Revenge's Pyrrhic ash, where victory tastes like ash. Sarah called next week, tentative olive branch. Ethan's welcome anytime. Family, right? Family. Fluid now redrawn. He visited her in Seattle over summer, video calls awkward but thawing.
me?
I started over, night classes in social work, a job at a legal aid clinic helping women untangle their own Jack Harlans. A year on, Ethan's at Iowa State, majoring in ethics, irony's gift. He calls Sundays, voice deepening. Mom, you did right. Messy, but right. Messy. The word sums it. No clean heroes, just survivors picking shards. Jack writes from Fort Madison, letters pleading forgiveness, then accusing, then silent. I burn them, but keep one for the debate it sparks in my head. Was I avenger or arsonist? Betrayed wife or betrayer of peace? Last month, at Ethan's door move-in, we stood under cornstalk banners, the cycle closing. Thanks for the truth, he said, hugging fierce.
Truth.
Costly, controversial, but ours. As for happy, it's tentative, a small house in the suburbs, no pickets, just a porch swing and sunsets that bleed red over the plains. Jack tried to leave me at the altar of our son's future, but I announced the apocalypse instead. And in the end, we all walked away changed. Some say I won. Others I lost everything. You decide.